Welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I'm Jordan. Today we are going to look at Rebel 10 or Rebel 10 year. It's a single barrel product ringing in at 100 proof, 50% ABV. So they did proof it down a little bit. Kind of a spendy little bottle. I was not expecting that. I did find it here locally, I believe. Let me double check that statement just because maybe that's a lie. Let's see here. Rebel 10 year. Uh, sorry. Yep. Found it here locally at the cheaper liquor store here in town, which is always kind of surprising when I can find stuff. But they, I talk to them all the time. They do a really good job of bringing stuff in for me specifically. Like if I can ask, and they'll get it. The problem with Wyoming, and I've said this in many videos before, is that everything has to go through the state liquor warehouse, where they collect the taxes and everything like that, and then so a distributor has to get it in. And when you got less than 600,000 people in the entire state, and of that, only who knows how many are drinking age, and of that, they don't, how many people drink whiskey, and of that, how many people drink that specific type of whiskey. It's hard to justify for the state bringing in stuff. Now, it is not impossible, but it is dang hard to get bottles in. Specifically. So, my selection is more limited than in other states. And so it's always interesting when I can find stuff that I wasn't really expecting. So, brought to you by Luxco. This is an expensive bottle of whiskey, almost $100, $92.59, and that's at the cheaper liquor store here in town. And that's also that store tends to have better prices than most other states that I go and visit. Not always, but most of the time. So like I don't know what the MSRP is or what you can find it for in other areas. Perfect time. Drop below what you can find a bottle of Rebel 10 for in your area because I'm very curious. But $92.59 here, pretty dang expensive. So hopefully this is good whiskey. The other thing I will say is thank you, Rebel, thank you, Luxco, for finally putting whiskey into a nice package. That is one thing that I have to say the Scotch people are doing that is just blowing most of the bourbon world out of the water. For equivalent money, give me some nice packaging. So thanks, Rebel, for damn near $100. About time. One thing I will say though is I don't know if this shows up on camera, but this is a freaking monkey puzzle here of how they got it packaged in there. However, you know what? It is in a nice box. So there's that. The other thing is $100 for 100 proof whiskey. We'll see about that. It is a single barrel product, but and that's a lot of money for a single barrel. For a single barrel product that is proof down to bottled and bond status. So we'll see what we get out of this. I'm kind of curious. But there we go. 10 years. This is barrel number 6184554. And the barrel was filled on February 16th, 2012. Now it does not have a bottling date. And my furnace just kicked on, so hopefully that's not coming up through that noise gate that I have on there. But we'll see how this goes. 100 proof whiskey. Now I am coming right off the heels of the Chattanooga, which was 111. It was kind of young, and that proof did bear out at the end of that flavor profile. So hopefully that doesn't impact it. I have given myself about 5 minutes in between bottles here so that hopefully it's not as impact forward there. And then the next bottle we're going to do, again, another single barrel, is this Cask Strength Rebel. I haven't even opened it yet, so we'll open it on camera here. And this is a special limited edition. So, of course, we're definitely going to get into that. But this is a 10-year product. So let's see what we got here. The nose is fairly subdued, I guess I would say. It's a light fruit, but more of a honeycomb A little bit of grain dust on the back end of it, a little bit of graham cracker on the nose. Oh man, the fan for the furnace just kicked on. So hopefully this video and audio is not toast. You know what? In fact, I'm gonna quick run upstairs, shut that off, come back to it. There we go. Hopefully now, I shut off the thermostat, so hopefully that will kick off here in just a couple of seconds. But now that it's been sitting here for a minute, maybe it's opened up a little bit. A little bit of funk in there. Like basement funk. Yes, I'm in my basement when I shoot this, but not that kind of a funk. Like musty basement. Starting to come alive a little bit here. Starting to get a little more fruit in there, a little more cherry. More of a wild turkey type nose characteristics. Like the what is that? Why can't I think of what that is? Wild turkey, not the standard wild turkey, the nicer one, rare breed. It's kind of got that rare breed nose profile, I would say. This is Luxco Distilling, Bardstown. This is distilled and aged in Kentucky, bottled for Luxco Distilleries, Bardstown, Kentucky. I don't know where they're sourcing this from, but according to that, it's not their own distillate. I don't think they do their own distillations. Now, here I will say, I'm getting a green note, green vegetal note in there, which is not something I would expect from a 10-year product. I'm also getting graham cracker on the nose here. A little bit of peanut dust. And there's a circus peanut note kind of coming in there where it's like that sugary, I don't know, like light sugary note. It's definitely circus peanut. Interesting. All right, that's enough of the nose here. Let's go on the taste and see what we're in for. Very simple sweetness up front, very even keel, smooth is the word. There's not a lot of bitey edges or anything to it. I will say the proof kicks in at the end of the flavor profile, and it kicks in more than what 100 proof, especially coming off that 111. I would say this is just a half a step down from that. It's just drinking a little bit hotter than 100 proof, 105 maybe. Smooth is the right word, where it's just a smooth transition from flavor to flavor to flavor. There's no spiky notes in there, which is exactly what you would expect out of 10 years in a barrel. It rounds out all those flavor profiles. It has kind of a creamier mouthfeel to it. But I will say this, first sip, it was fairly uneventful till about mid palate, and then I got a couple of different tasting notes in there. So, $100, man. $92. Yes, it's a 10-year product, and that's where the price is derived from. But man, I just keep getting let down and let down and let down by higher dollar whiskey constantly. Which has really turned me off from trying to buy bottles that are more expensive because it's just not worth it. You hear me, team? It's just not worth it. Spend your money wisely. Stick in that 60 to $20 to $60 category. You'll find the greatest whiskey you could ever want, and be able to afford multiple bottles of it. Is it good? It is. Is it a nice, easy sipping whiskey? Yes. Is it overpriced? Yes, by a factor of about $50. This drinks, as far as its complexity, because it's really missing that complexity, and we'll go back in there and see if something else pops out. But first sip, first experience, it's missing what I want from my whiskey experience. I want 6 to 8 nice, well-balanced notes, and this is just kind of level, even keeled, and there's nothing special to it. So go back into this nose, see if we can tease something out. Nose hasn't changed hardly at all. Maybe got a little bit sweeter, a little bit of confectioner sugar on the back end, powdered sugar. A little more heavy into that peanut. But it's still pretty subdued in the glass. That circus peanut note is maybe a little bit more forward this time. Going back in on the taste, I'll give more descriptors this time on the taste. So it's peanut dust up front, sweet, honey. Then it gets really heavy into peanut, with some barrel char and tannin, bitterness kind of picking up in that mid palate. Finishes with that black pepper, and then the heat's coming on the back end of that. Like I said, it's drinking hotter than 100 proof, but it's really that peanut, graham cracker, black pepper, kind of all coming together on the finish, and that kind of goes. And then it's just a little dance between a sweet component, a honey, and a little bit of that bitterness of the oak tannin in there. It's not mind blowing. It's not amazing. I would say if you are more interested in barrel impacted whiskey, especially on the finish, this might be up your alley, but it's really subtle. There's not a whole lot going on into this, and it's rather uninteresting. Um, so yeah, that's a disappointment, especially at $92. If this was $40, I'd be tickled pink. But at that price point, man, and once again, I'm going to throw this out there. That early times bottled and bond at 24 or 25, $26, whatever it is, for a liter, makes this look, I mean, they're not even in the same category. That early times is way better. It's a way better profile. It's a way better drinking experience. It brings way more to the table. Having said that, this, it's nice, it's subtle, it's easy to sip. It's just not a $92 whiskey, which is really unfortunate. Now, it is a single barrel product, so there is a very high likelihood that other people have much better barrels, or that there's a honey barrel in there, or whatever, that people's experiences are way better. I've watched reviews of this before, and people were really talking it up. That's why I put it on my hit list. That single barrel program really is not doing it for me, because I was not super enthralled with the Four Roses single barrel. I'm not too over the top with this single barrel. Uh, Blanton's ended up winning out in my Buffalo Trace lineup, but if you go back and watch my review of the Blantons, I was not super on its own, was not super over the top about it. Um, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can't really come up with too many single barrel products, but I have several single barrels, and I'm not over the moon for 'em most of the time. Ooh, the Henry McKenna 10-year. Mine was kind of a meh. Definitely not worth $75. Again, at $40, sure, it's a fine drinking whiskey. You could tell me that it was maybe 5 years old, and I wouldn't have known any difference. Same thing with this. You could tell me this was 5 years old, and I'd be like, eh. Other than just there's no sharp edges in this, I couldn't tell you that it's that much older because of the flavor profile. So this will be a bottle that I'm going to keep my eyes on. Like we just got through the neck pour and whatever else. Maybe in time this bottle will get better as we drink through it. I don't know. But right now, I don't know. And this will be a really good comparison head to head between that Rebel 100 and this 10-year, because they're at the same proof. We'll see who comes out on top. So look for that coming in the future here, of that head to head. Up next, we're going to do this Rebel Cask Strength. Now this is ringing in at 120 proof, so that might bring something to the table. We'll see. So check back in a couple of days here. I'm going to shoot that video right after this. So as soon as I'm done here, we're going to shoot that one. But check back in a couple of days when I upload that video, and we'll see if that brings anything else to the table. But there you have it. Rebel 10, fairly disappointing, at least my experience, and that's a single barrel. This Rebel Cask Strength's also a single barrel product. So again, anytime you're dealing with a single barrel product, there's a large swath of variability from barrel to barrel, and so you just never know what you're going to get. So, yeah, man, that's a hard pill to swallow. And I think this cask strength I paid much less for. I paid $54.99 for cask strength, so almost half price versus this 10-year, and it's higher proof. We'll just see what it brings to the table. So as always, drop in the comments down below why you can find a bottle of Rebel 10 or in your area and any experience you have with it. Maybe you got one of those great bottles and it is spectacular. But for me, right now, at this point in this bottle, not worth the price. But like I said, maybe it'll change up for me as I get through that bottle a little bit more. We'll see what it does. As always, thanks for watching. Have yourselves a great day. Check us out on BitChute or Rumble if you're checking us out on YouTube right now. And as always, have yourselves a great day. Catch you in the next video.